take a look at why mental health is so important. Mental and physical health are equally important components of overall health. For example, depression increases the risk of many types of physical health problems, particularly long-lasting conditions like diabetes, heart disease, and stroke. Similarly, the presence of chronic conditions can increase the risk for mental illness. This is the physical correlation between compromised mental health and physical well-being. So do we kind of see how these two can be interchangeable? You know, I just want to stick a pin right there. A lot of times, specifically when we have underlying conditions, all it really takes is for a stressful environment or situation to kind of trigger whatever offset is going on with us internally. So maybe you may have, maybe you have some sedentary diabetic underlying conditions, but once you're in a stressful situation or stress is pressed upon you, then these things, I guess, flare, if you will, you know, creating a very real and serious medical problem. Okay, moving forward. Can your mental health change over time? Yes. It's important to remember that a person's mental health can change over time, depending on many factors. When the demands placed on a person exceed their resources and coping abilities, their mental health could be impacted. For example, if someone is working long hours caring for a relative or experiencing economic hardship, they may experience poor mental health. I am sure that we all can attest that our mental health has changed due to the recent and current pandemic. COVID-19 has uprooted the way we identify with one another, our family dynamics, our faith or belief system, and most certainly our health. It has been a whirlwind of trauma, loss, devastation, times of great change. The pandemic has forced us to throw away how we once lived and adopt a new system. Though this may be daunting, it is a great opportunity to take a deeper look at how we view our lives in the world. How do we do this? By using our minds, our thinking. So would someone like to share one way you would say your thought process has been affected since the pandemic? Or what has been impactful for you mentally since the pandemic? Anybody want to share?
For the most part with me, I'll share is I'm an educator. So dealing with students, not being able to physically, because I deal with smaller children, elementary kids, and they're touchy, not being able to touch them or give them that comfort sometimes when they are stressed out or they're feeling sad about something, not being able to cuddle them and touch them to say it's going to be okay.
Absolutely. I can
and to hear when you talk to kids and to hear, you don't think that this weighs on them, but it does as well. I had a little boy in tears one day because he said his granddaddy was dying in the hospital with COVID and he couldn't get to him.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I can absolutely see how that would be stressful. And I often think about educators because we have all had to adjust. And these things take thought process. It takes adjusting the way we once viewed the world before the pandemic. Anybody else want to share? Okay. So I want to share with you guys some strategies on how do we protect our mental health. One of the number one ways that we can protect our mental health is by eliminating fear. I know that the pandemic has increased fear, if not fear, certainly anxiety and stress. So how can we eliminate our fear or alleviate our fear in times of stress. What is fear? There is an acronym that states that fear is false evidence of things appearing real. I can agree with this to a certain extent. Fear is very real. It is a real emotion. Neglecting to admit to something does not negate the fact that it exists. However, it does give what you fear more opportunities to eat away at you, causing that with what you fear to monopolize on your mind or your mental state, your emotions, and your body. Admit your fears, confront them. Perhaps some of you are afraid of the pandemic, of COVID-19, and that's okay, but do not ignore it or pretend that it cannot affect you, because the truth is, it already has, whether you want to admit to it or not. Which leads me to my next strategy, focusing on what you can control. You know, I know since the pandemic has taken place, a lot of things it almost feels like a lot of things are out of our hands, you know, but there are some things that we can control, and it's important to help to keep a healthy mental state is by focusing on the things that you are able to control. One of the most stressful things is one of the most stressful things is knowing that you cannot change something. However, if we focus on what we cannot control, we neglect what we can. There has to be a brave thing within us that trusts what we cannot and aids us in governing what we can. And often the things that we cannot control become distractions. We can wear our masks, we can sanitize, we can maintain 6 feet distance socially. Control your circle. When you control your circle, you and your circle have a support system that communicates with one another as it relates to who you come in contact with. So that could be traveling, shopping, outings, etc. These are the people that you are comfortable with sharing little details to ensure that you are able to continue to effectively and safely maintain social immunity. One of the leading facets of the pandemic initially was the lack of human connection. So that was a huge breakdown in mental health in the first wave of the pandemic. We found that a lot of people were going into a state of depression because they did not have human connection. They did not have human contact. So that is very important. I'll just speak personally. In the first wave of the pandemic, it weighed really heavy on me mentally that I could not physically give a person a hug, or, I'm a big hugger. So that affected me mentally. We need that social connection. We need those opportunities to connect to one another. And that's very important. And one way that you can control that group, that close-knit group that you have, it could be your family and your friends, or maybe just a few people in your work environment, that you say, hey, guys, we want to continue to socialize. We want to continue to see one another. We want to continue to be together. So let's hold one another accountable. If you're going out of town, let the rest of the group know. So when you come back in, you want to get tested, so the rest of the group can know, so that you all can continue to stay safe, and you can all maintain your mental health by continuing to socially see each other and have that human connection. Do I have any questions so far? No? Everybody okay? Okay. Sure. Mm. Mhm. Okay. So I guess the best angle to approach your question would be education, education, education. I think that is one of the number one causes of that fear and that division is lack of education. Um, some people have chosen just not to address the pandemic or not to address the vaccination or not to address getting tested. And that's okay because we're not here to, influence you one way or another. We are just here to give you the facts. And I think that education is empowering because when you have that information, it then becomes your responsibility to do with it what you choose. But we want to empower you with this education and with presentations like this. So those people that are within your circle, and again, going back to that level of control, those things that you are able to control, that's something that you can pass on. And what we are hoping long term is that education bridges the gap that that division is kind of taking up that space. And I hope that answers your question. Mm-hmm. Right, right.
And on the, and or in addition to that, those people who do their own research
Mm.
and they're educated in their minds, but they're miseducated.
Right.
Well,
And
I think
go
a,
ahead.
I think a part of the issue is sometimes is who do you believe? Because even in the medical world, once there are a group of doctors that are saying that this is a forest, and there are a group that's saying this is for real. I'm talking about doctors. And so they contribute to the problem because when you take this stuff and put it in political on the political realm, see, and I believe that's where so much of the misinformation comes from. That you've
Mhm.
got so many people supposedly that supposed to know what they're talking about, and one side is saying one thing, the other side is saying something else. So who do you believe?
Mhm.
And for a lot of folk, I think is very, very stressful.
I was going to agree with Pastor Kenneth that the degree of not misinformation, but information that contradicts each other. One group of scientists or medical experts saying, no, you don't need the booster with the flu shot. And then the next day you hear, well, it's safe to take both at the same time. Take the booster, take the flu shot. So that contributes to a level of anxiety for those of us who really were ready for this thing to just go away.
Right. I understand. I understand. I mean, those are all just concerns I think that everyone has, across the board, just kind of determining what information to kind of take in and what information to release. But I will say this, these informative presentations are a guide, and they are a aid, if you will. So and a tool. So, that's where the mental health piece comes in. We have to be a people of thought. We have to be a people that think. And even with all of the information that you're taking in, we want you to be able to have a healthy mindset where you can choose. So you can decide for your families, you can decide for your churches, you can decide for your businesses, what is best for you individually. This is something that we want to press upon you tonight in terms of mental health, because these are the decisions that you have to make. When it all boils down, we have these different avenues, whether it be the news media, locally, whatever the case be, but the choice, it is ours. So the information is here, but then it also becomes the responsibility individually. What information are we going to take in, and what information we're going to pass up? And I also want to address this, and I'll move forward. It goes back to what you can control.
You said that, and that was when you said that the first time, that is the bottom line for me. Because my anxiety and any mental issue comes with the frustration of it all. And the frustration comes with, you kind of see where people are and what choices people make. But those things I can't control.
Right.
Those things I cannot control. My issue is not fear, any of that stuff. It's like, this is crazy kind of thing, And I just got to focus on the things that I can control, and some things I can't control.
Absolutely, and that alone will eliminate the stress. That alone, can be the difference in whether or not you're getting a good night's sleep, or whether you're having peace of mind when you're on your job.
Well, first, I want to applaud Metro for having this topic and to talk about it. In my line of work, as working with people with, we call it SMI, severe mentally ill, since COVID been identified, I have a lot of my members who are with depression, bipolar disorder, anxiety, schizophrenia. When you ask them about taking the vaccine,
Hello.
the unknown, and a lot of them even had the COVID and still won't take the vaccine. And when you try to encourage them to look at how it can help them in the near future, and you still can get the virus, but the point is for them to take the vaccine, and a lot of them are refusing to take it. So when I explain to them, I have to be very brief, because one of the things when I say to them, discuss it with your doctor. And after you discuss with your doctor, you still have some concern, go to cdc.gov. And then sometimes I give a personal testimony. I took the vaccine and how, I was glad to take it. And as the first one in my family to take the vaccine, and how the rest of my siblings followed taking it as well. And so a lot of things you saying, Ms. People, is really true, dealing with the fear of so many people who don't want to take the vaccine, and they hear what other people saying and they believe in what they say. But when they come to dealing with professional people or people who are in the field, the health field, they still have reservation about taking the vaccine.
Mhm.
True. This is true.
That's one of the reasons you can't sit in front of the TV and watch all of this stuff and stay on social media listening to everybody's opinion. So you can get real confused listening to everybody. You gotta just what I do. I don't pay attention to. I had to cut down on all what I'm watching the news and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
But Pastor, it can also come from within, within your own family, within your surrounding. And that's even worse. When you have your own family members and your friends and people that you surround yourself, even in the church, has resistance from taking the vaccine. And when you're dealing with people with truly mental illness, I'm telling you, it's not easy to try to get them to understand the importance of taking the vaccine and how it can help them and other people, the people that they love and the people that they are involved with. So it's dealing with my line of work and dealing with people with mental illness. I get on that phone and when someone tell me I took the vaccine, I get so happy. I said, oh, I am so proud of you. So I have to give them that encouragement.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and keep going. So another strategy I want you guys to look to is learn from the past and look to the future. So I just want to kind of just pose this question in your mind, and we can talk about it a little bit later. What have you learned in the past year from the pandemic? We are now in year 2 of this pandemic. What can you do differently? Every round goes higher and higher. So I want you to kind of think about that, and we'll double back around to it at the end. So how can you learn from the first wave? And, what have you learned from the first wave, and what have you took from the first one, and how are you applying it to now? Also, guard your heart. What Mr. Barrington was saying, do not allow outside things to affect you directly. Social media, local and government news, people, etc. You got to know when to turn it off and take some time for yourself. Checking in with yourself regularly is an awesome strategy in protecting your mental health. It's a time to assess what you have taken in, what you have taken in, what you need to eliminate, and what you can use. Think of it as a filtration system. So actively taking some time to put down the newspaper, turn off Instagram, turn off Facebook, turn off the local news stations, turn off CNN, processing too much of those things on a ongoing basis can really affect your mental health. Of course, the news, they're going to do what they are supposed to do. They're going to give you the news. And a lot of news right now is dramatic. A lot of news is sad right now. A lot of news is, it has a way of weighing on you. I find myself having to just disconnect from those things because that has played a major role in mental illness, a major role, especially with the youth, especially with our youth, because they are so tech savvy these days. And technology is really one of the leading, causes to a lot of mental illnesses and to a lot of, self-inflicted behavior. The next strategy I wanted to share with you guys is eating a balanced diet. Here at the Department of Health, we facilitate, or should I say, we advocate for a program called SNAP Ed Education. And it is an evidence-based program that helps people lead healthy, active lives. SNAP Ed teaches people how to make their SNAP dollars stretch. So it teaches you how to eat affordable meals on a budget. There's also some information about how to cook healthy meals, also how to stay physically active. It is a program that we use through the Department of Health, and it is proven to help many families and individuals lead a healthy lifestyle. Okay. And I have also, I will be sending you guys some little takeaways, just some foods that you can use that will actually build your cognitive mind, you know, in terms of foods that you can eat to strengthen the brain. So there are a lot of foods specifically geared toward your cognitive, your thinking, things that are going to help the brain, help you mentally focus. But it's important, you know, if you don't do but 30 minutes of walking, or you may, you know, some of you may be avid runners. If you want to run, or 20 minutes, just something, getting out of the house, taking a walk. Some people, it's something that I do. I will take a walk in the mall, just walk around the mall for an hour. That's physical activity. You know, there are thousands of online workout systems and programs nowadays you can do right from the comfort of your home. But also eating a balanced diet and actively exercising, it decreases stress. It decreases stress. It decreases anxiety. Okay. The next strategy is embracing change. Things are not going back to the way that they were. They're not. And so we will need to adapt, adjust, and be flexible with the changes that are here and ahead. It is more stressful to try and go against the grain of something that is continuously evolving. And we see that this pandemic, as I do believe that you know, scientists and those in leadership are working tirelessly trying to get us over this and out of this pandemic. We have to understand that changes are going to continually happen. And how are we going to face those changes? Are we going to face them begrudgingly, or are we going to face them with a positive mindset? And that's also going to help our mental health. What are some ways that you have embraced the changes around you? Now, this is something that I want to stick a pin in, and I want to take a few moments for someone to share, if you will. What are some ways that you have embraced the change since the pandemic? It could just be something simple. Anybody want to share?
Well, you can control what you allow in your mind to flow through your mind. So what you meditate on. There's a passage from scripture that I deal with, Philippians, talks about your thought life. You know, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things of a good report. A lot of things are true, but they're not a good report. So you have to choose, you know, those things that are going to be beneficial to you. So controlling your thought life.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely. Also knowing the facts. I think someone kind of said something about this a little bit earlier, knowing the facts, knowing what COVID-19 is, going to the CDC, you know, utilizing your resources through the Department of Health, making sure that you are abreast of what's going on and what's current. You know, it's worth it to know something about it. You know, it's worth it. So when I say embracing the changes, it's embracing the things that are coming ahead in terms of the research, the changes that are happening with the virus and the pandemic. What are some things that we may have to change for in our churches and our businesses? How are we moving forward? It's important to know these things so you will know how to pivot. so you will know how to adjust. Because one of the most important things about maintaining your mental health is knowing how to adjust. It doesn't mean that you won't be able to do it. It just means that maybe you'll have to do it in a different way. And that's okay, because again, times are continuously evolving.
I'll tell you this. I'll tell you something that helped me. I went online to the CDC and studied some of the information they've got on there.
Yes, sir.
And when I read the information, it talks about they were talking about viruses, period. The COVID is a virus. Cold is a virus. HIV is a virus. They have never been able to find a cure for any virus. They cannot heal the common cold. How viruses work are they penetrate and get into the cell, and that's where they do the damage. So understanding, I think we're waiting for a cure. They haven't found any cure for any virus. That's the truth of the matter. The common cold, they haven't found all these years, but they have developed a vaccine that will cause your immune system to fight, that kind of thing, that helps your immune system to better fight. So that's really what this vaccine is about. A vaccine that's going to help our immune system be strengthened and be able to fight off, not cure.
Yes, sir. And so these are the type of things that we want you to be aware of. We want you to know the facts so you can make a sound decision on how you want to move forward for yourself individually. Also for those who have families, for those who have businesses, employees. It's important for you to be educated and know the facts. So absolutely. The next strategy I want you guys to think about is self-care. I know that's something that's really kind of big on the scene. For women, we take self-care seriously. We're going to get our nails done. We're going to get our hair done. We're going to get massages. But guys, we want you to do those things too. Whatever you do, you go out and hang out with the fellas, or, you play basketball or football or whatever the case, whatever you need to do to decompress. We want you to be taking those self-care strategies to help you in stressful times, because that's going to also pattern your mental health and your mental stability as well. And the last strategy I want to speak with you guys about tonight, and then we'll just open it up for some questions, is eliminating stigmas. For me, this was a big one because I think it happens a lot, especially in the African-American community. People tend to not want to talk about mental health, or they are so ashamed of it that it becomes more of more of a point of isolation than it is something that we can address and tackle. So stigma is discrimination against an identifiable group of people, a place, or a nation. Stigma is associated with a lack of knowledge about how COVID-19 spreads, a need to blame someone, fears about disease and death, and gossip that spreads rumors and myths. So beyond COVID-19, we also want to remove the stigmas about mental health, because a lot of mental illnesses were sudden onsets, and that's in lieu of the pandemic. So some people didn't have anxiety attacks until the pandemic. Some people didn't suffer from depression until the pandemic. Some people didn't have some of these mental illnesses until the pandemic came. But we need to consider what has happened, what is, and how to move forward. But we certainly do not want to make the people around us feel isolated just because they have this onset mental illness. We want to be able to, move through society with humility. You know, we want to be able to move through society with love, and at the very least, if we can't help, at least be educated. Do we have any questions? Any questions?
Could you repeat what the men need to do about self-care? I need to hear that again.
So I'm just giving some examples. You know, a lot of guys like to play basketball. You like to watch football. Maybe if you want to go out on a Friday night with the fellas, hang out. Some men get pedicures. Some men get massages. These are all great ways to take care of yourself in stressful times. And it's also, yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
That's self-care, Mr. Donnell. That's self-care.
That sounds like taunting or boasting. That sounds like I wish you was here pictures.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, that concludes my presentation for this evening, guys. I want to open up the floor. If you have any questions for me, or if you want to discuss some of the things that we've already covered, feel free. Okay. Okay. I think one of the leading, I guess, telltale signs, if you will, in men would be isolation. And I mean that more so verbally. While that is universally true in most cases, men don't generally like to talk about things. That kind of escalates when they are, I guess you will, on the cusp of a mental illness or a mental break. There's that isolation, there's that really deep sense of introvert, or that deep sense of kind of withdrawing, and from everything. It could be friends, it could be family, maybe their daily activities, they don't want to do them anymore. It's hard on the mental illness side to kind of gauge, especially with men, but I would say that is one of the leading telltale signs. I do. I I do, but I think women tend to open up more. We talk. You know, we have a girlfriend to talk to, or we have somebody to talk to. You know, when we're stressed, we talk. You know, oh, I just want to, that's just how women are. We tend to open up more, but men are usually the complete opposite.
Guys talk about football games and stuff that don't matter.
Yeah.
You know,
but you can absolutely have a man that is on a mental break and he can seem completely normal, just because guys are typically really, really, really great at hiding their feelings and their emotions.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And that's something that we really want to change, because we are seeing an increase in men having mental breaks because of that very reason. And it could be because it could be a number of factors.
Okay. I did some study on the brain. And one of the things that right up here, the amygdala, all the thought process happened in the front of the brain. And according to what you allow in your brain, if you allow it long enough, it's going to trigger chemicals in your body that's going to either hurt your body or heal your body. The amygdala, because for every emotion, there is a release of chemicals that can mess you up or help you.
Okay. I definitely know that your thought process plays a large part in how your body responds to your environment. So what you're thinking about constantly, you know, what you are allowing to take in, you know, that's why mental health is so important, because when you have a balance of mental health or balance of mental wellness, you are able to decide what you need to take in and what you need to dismiss. But when you're taking on so many things at once and kind of having this idle thought process, then you are really putting yourself in harm's way in the long run, you know, on the back end, in the long haul, because you're allowing these things to kind of come in and kind of, you know, take over. You know, we are living in probably the most stressful times known to any generation, you know, just across the board. But, you know, I wanted to give you guys some patented strategies that you can do in your everyday life, that you can think about in your everyday life and say, hey, you know, maybe I need to turn the radio off for 45 minutes, because I know a lot of people like to listen to the news, you know, via radio, or maybe I need to turn the TV off for an hour or two and maybe read a book or go for a walk or whatever the case may be. You know, if you know, some people stress eat, you know, I recently read a study that people are increasingly becoming obese during the pandemic. And, you know, that plays a big part in the stress level that we are under. You know, if you had fried chicken yesterday, eat a salad the next day. You know, I always say everything with balance and moderation.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Let me ask you, in your department, do you all have anybody on staff that deals with this from the biblical or spiritual side of mental health?
Well, no, not specifically, but we do have staff that are believers.
I hear that. Okay. Yeah, I hear that.
But we do have some, I sent Lady Ward, and she's going to pass it along to you guys, some local resources in the community that you can connect with. If you yourself or someone you know, you think they may be dealing with a mental issue. We have the Bond Community Health Center. We have neighborhood medical services. And also there's the Appalachian Center and Florida Therapy. So I'm going to pass those resources over to her, and she'll forward those to you, and attached to those are also phone numbers.
Okay. All right.
Any other question?
Oh, this is the time to ask questions.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know, you talked about SNAP, and that's an acronym. Is that correct?
Well, the SNAP program, yes.
Oh, so what is that?
Okay, for just a moment. So the SNAP program is it's a government-based program, and it's actually something that we use all the time as an avenue for families and individuals to participate in if they are looking to, maybe change their diet or eat healthy, because a lot of people don't eat healthy because they think it's too expensive. But this program is designed to help you eat well, even if you're on a fixed income, or even if you have some disparities, you'll still be able to eat a balanced meal. You'll still be able to prepare a balanced meal for you and your family. And also, Lady Ward has some more information about that as well that she'll be forwarding to you guys. Any other questions?
You want to go ahead and answer? Yes, my husband has a question here.
Okay.
How important is building up your immune system, and because you touched on it a little bit earlier as it relates to your health, your mental health, and keeping because that's one of the things that you have to fight against this virus is having a strong immune system, right?
That is very true. So to answer your question, it is very important to have a healthy immune system. That's why I stress the fact of eating a balanced diet. So some of the things that, maybe we used to eat, some of those things we need to eliminate altogether. So it's very important that you're not eating those fatty foods all the time, those greasy foods, those fried foods, because those things are not going to combat the virus. Lord forbid, say if you got the virus, your immune system needs to be strengthened. So whatever foods that you're needing to eat, it needs to be greens. So you need to eat plenty of fruits and vegetables. You need to make sure your body is hydrated at all times. So drinking lots of water, lots and lots of water. If you're not a big pill popper, you can get vitamin C from oranges. You can get vitamin C from citruses. You can get, some of those things from eating just fruits and vegetables. You don't necessarily have to take a medication per se. And I wanted to share this with you also. So some foods that are really good for brain function is salmon. I don't know if any of you like salmon, but that is a extremely good fish to eat. It's packed with omega-3 fatty acids. Also, chicken is a really good protein. Whole grains, avocados, not sure if you guys like those, spinach, which is a really, 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 really good green. It's packed with protein, it's rich in vitamins, folic acid. Also, yogurt is really good, but the only thing with yogurt, you just have to make sure that you're choosing one that has few sugars.
You talking about Greek stuff?
Well, some of those too can have a lot of sugar in it. So I would just turn over the back and look at the nutrition facts, because a lot of these yogurts, they come with the label as being healthy, but they are loaded with sugar.
Yeah.
Loaded with sugar. Also, nuts are really good. Almonds, of course, cashews is a really good nut to choose. Also, make sure You switch up your oils, what you're cooking with. So instead of using vegetable oil, switch to olive oil or avocado oil or grapeseed oil.
Yeah.
All of these oils are really good for the body, but they're also really good for the heart. Okay. Also, tomatoes. Tomatoes is a natural anti-inflammatory, which is really, really good because a lot of the foods we eat, especially processed foods, and Miss Sheila, when she comes in next week, she'll really get in a deeper depth about nutrition. But a lot of foods that we eat increase inflammation in our bodies, and that is not good. That is something that also brings the defense system down of your immunity. So choosing foods that are anti-inflammatory are really good for the body. Okay, guys?
Do you all recommend supplements?
Now, in terms
Vitamins?
of supplements, I would talk to your doctor. So make sure and that's something that's really important right now. Make sure that if you don't have it, build a good rapport with your physician.
Mhm.
You know, even if you have to spend some time before your appointment making up some questions to ask, you know, that's what they're there for. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to say, hey, let's look at, looking at my blood work, looking at my labs. What can I adjust? Do I need to come down on the scale a little bit? Am I slightly overweight? What can I do to put myself in the best possible position to combat this virus? That's really, really important. Aside from continuing to wear your mask, continuing to sanitize, when you're traveling, make sure when you're coming back in, you're being tested. We've opened up many, many more vaccination clinics as well as testing sites. So there's no reason that anyone shouldn't have, a test if they need it, or, if they want to get vaccinated.
Mhm.
I have a question.
Sure.
If you have a really very healthy immune system, do you still need to take the vaccine if you know your immune system is at optimum?
Again, I would say speak with your healthcare provider. That may be true, but we've seen people that are, let's just be completely honest. We have seen people that are in tip-top shape die from this virus. It is very serious. Very serious.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Are there not any more questions? Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for having me this evening. It was a pleasure to come on. It was a pleasure to share with you guys tonight. Again, my name is Chasedi Peoples. I'm one of the community engagement specialists through the Leon County Health Department. Also, I have passed on some of the meat of this presentation, if you will, for tonight to Lady Ward. And she can forward those things to you via email. And if you have any questions, she can give you my email address as well. And you guys, please don't hesitate to shoot me an email with any questions that you may have.
Yeah, is there any recommended reading?
For what topic or for what in particular?
For this area you're talking about, mental health.
I would say go to the CDC. The CDC, I will always recommend the CDC. They have a wealth of information on various topics, especially mental illness and mental health.
Well, let me say this. I'd say to you all, I know I introduced this to you all before, but I would encourage you to read Carolyn Lee's book on who switched off your brain or who switched on your brain. There's some powerful stuff that she has in there about understanding how your brain works and that kind of thing.
I do.
All right, guys. Well, if you don't have any more questions for me, I will bid you a good night.
Thank you so much, people.
Absolutely.
Yes. Thank you for coming tonight and sharing with us. Good information. There's some tips that I know all of us will have that we can go forward with. And so we really appreciate the time that you've given to share this with us. And thank you for the information that you have given to Lady Ward. And we'll look forward to having that and having information, of how to get in contact with you should we have some more questions that come up as we're going forth, or we encountered some people that really will benefit from some of this information because they're going through rough times, so we appreciate this time. We appreciate you empowering us with information, and just thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you again. All right. I believe if there is nothing else, we're going to go ahead. Let me stop the recording. Yes. Okay. We're going to go ahead and we are going to
Recording stopped.
Close out for the evening. Thank all of you who took the time to come and get this information and be informed, be encouraged, so we know not to live in fear, but live with knowledge and understanding and knowing how to go about our day and to do all that we can to remain healthy. And just adding that with our trust in God that He's going to take us through this time. Amen.
Amen.
And with that, I'm just going to go ahead and pray and close out. Father, we do thank you. We thank you for Miss Chasedi, oh God, Father. Thank you for the information and for the time that she has taken to share with us, oh God. And we just pray for everyone that's here tonight that you will be an encouragement to all of us. You would help us to grow and help us to share what we've learned with others and just be encouraged and help others not to live in fear, as we have come to a place where we're not living in fear, but we're living in the empowerment that you have given us. We do thank you now, Father, and we ask that you would protect us and be with us even as we leave from this time, but Lord, that we would never leave from your presence. We do thank you in Jesus' name, amen. All right, everyone, you all have a good night and thank you again.
Good night, guys.
Elder Moore, before you go, let me ask you, is there any way we can check the internet, Facebook or YouTube to see if there are questions coming in from the audience? Do we need to invite folk to ask questions, that kind of thing? Okay.
He's got to shut off.